crew, happy Tuesday. Welcome to Story Time. Our learning target for Story Time today is I can say thank you to people in my community. I've noticed there are lots of people in our communities that are working really, really hard right now. There's doctors and nurses who are keeping us safe and who are helping people when they get sick. There's people that are working in grocery stores who are making sure we all have the food that we need. And I was thinking it would be great if we could talk about how to say thank you to those people. So, what we are going to do today is we are going to read this story. This story is called Thank You, Amu. And this story is going to help us learn about how to say thank you to people in our communities. Okay, are you guys ready? Let's get started. Thank You, Amu by Oge Mora. Thank you, Amu. On the corner of First Street and Long Street, on the very top floor, Amu was cooking a thick red stew in a big fat pot for a nice evening meal. She seasoned and stirred it and took a small taste. "What a delicious stew," Amu said. "Tonight's dinner will surely be the best I have ever had." With that, Amu put down her spoon and went to read a book before supper. As the thick red stew simmered on the stove, its scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block until, knock! Someone was at the door. When Amu opened it, she saw a little boy. "Little boy," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was playing with my race car down the hall when I smelled the most delicious smell," the little boy replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." Stew," he sighed. "That sounds yummy." Amu thought for a moment. She was saving her stew for dinner, but she had made quite a bit. It would not hurt to share. "Would you like some?" The little boy nodded, and so Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the little boy said, and went on his way. With that, Amu closed the door and went back to her book. As she read, her thick red stew's scrumptious scent wafted out the window and out the door, down the hall, toward the street, and around the block, until... knock, knock, knock! Someone was at the door. When Amu opened the door, this time she saw a hot dog vendor. "Mr. Hot Dog Vendor," Amu exclaimed, "what brings you to my home?" "I was selling my hot dogs down the block when I smelled the most delicious smell," Mr. Hot Dog Vendor replied. "What is it?" "Thick red stew." "Oh, stew," the vendor licked his lips. "That sounds quite delectable." So Amu spooned out some thick red stew from the big fat pot for her nice evening meal. "Thank you, Amu," the hot dog vendor said, and went on his way. Throughout the day, people from all across the neighborhood knocked on Amu's door. She fed a shop owner, a cab driver, a doctor, an actor, a lawyer, a dancer, a baker, an artist, a singer, an athlete, a bus driver, a construction worker. Even the mayor stopped by. And each time they knocked, Amu shared. Soon the sky darkened, the streetlights brightened, and it was finally time for dinner. But when Amu opened her big fat pot of thick red stew for her nice evening meal, it was empty.
Amu sniffled. There goes the best dinner I ever had. Sorry and blue, she sat at the table with her empty pot until... Knock, 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 knock. Who could that be? Amu wondered. When she opened her door, she saw the little boy, the hot dog vendor, the shop owner, the cab driver, the doctor, the actor, the lawyer, the dancer, the baker. Why, everyone she fed today was at her door. I'm sorry, everyone, Amu sighed. My thick red stew is all gone. I have nothing left to share. The little boy tugged at Amu's sleeve. Don't worry, Amu. We are not here to ask. We are here to give. The police officer carried in a fresh salad. The mayor entered with a roast chicken. The baker brought a collection of sweet goodies. Even the little boy presented Amu with something special in a shiny red envelope. Everyone who had knocked on Amu's door that day squeezed inside her tiny apartment, and together they ate, danced, and celebrated. While Amu's big fat pot of thick red stew was empty, her heart was full with happiness and love. Ooh, I think we get to find out what was in that shiny red envelope. It was a note that said, "Thank you, Amu." That was the best dinner she had ever had. Hi crew, I hope you guys liked that story. It's one that I really, really like. And I think it's such a wonderful story about how people say thank you to one another. Now, one of my favorite parts of the story, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but right here at the end, the little boy, when he comes back to Amu's house, he isn't able to bring her any food, but he brings her a thank you card. He writes, "Thank you, Amu," and he puts it in a special envelope and he brings it over to her house. And I was thinking today we could work together to write some thank you notes for the people in our communities who are working really hard. So, in order to write a thank you note, you're going to need a piece of paper. It can be any piece of paper that you have. And you're going to need something to write with, like some markers or some crayons or some colored pencils or even just a regular pencil or a pen. I made an example of a thank you note that you could write, and I'm going to use it to help us understand the things that we want to include when we write a thank you note. I decided to write my thank you note to doctors and nurses because I know that they're some of the people that are working really hard right now to keep us safe. So on the top, I wrote to doctors and nurses. And then I wanted people to know it was from me. So on the bottom, I wrote from Miss McMurtry. So you can write those two things on your thank you note as well. You can write to and decide who you want to say thank you to. And then at the end, you can write from. You can write yours to doctors and nurses if you want, or you could write it to grocery store workers, or you could write it to somebody in your family or one of your neighbors who you know is working hard. Anybody that you want to say thank you to is just perfect. On my card, I wrote, "Thank you for working hard to keep us safe." In your card, you want to make sure that you write thank you, and you can look right here to see how to spell thank you. And then you want to explain why you're saying thank you. What are they doing that you're so thankful for? Now, once I've finished writing my thank you note, if you want, you can add some decorations, you can do some drawings, or even just like some hearts or stars or smiley faces, whatever you would like to do. And then there are 2 more steps that you need to do. The first one is you need to take a picture of your thank you note and post it on Seesaw. Take a picture of your thank you note and post it on Seesaw. And then your second step is going to be to walk over and use a piece of tape to put this thank you note up in your window. That way, the people that you're saying thank you to in your community will be able to see this note when they walk by. I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay, I'm over at my window now, and I'm going to use just a little piece of this tape. I'm going to pull some tape off. And then I'm going to take my thank you note and I'm going to put it facing out in my window. Uh-oh, I dropped my tape. There it is. Now, when people walk by, they'll be able to see that I'm saying thank you. All right, thanks for watching. Head back to Seesaw.